Every star, every orbit, every chemical reaction, an elegant structure of logic, predictable and flawless. That belief wasn't just cultural within the Ascendancy. It was his personal anchor. Order meant control, and control was survival. Which is why the world drifting on his bridge display bothered him more than it should have. A small, unclaimed planet, blue, wrapped in thick, swirling white clouds, quiet in the void. It felt wrong. He didn't believe in intuition. Ascendancy science dismissed such things as emotional noise. But the moment their long-range sensors picked up the blue world, a strange unease crept into his chest. Not fear, not danger. Unease, the kind a soldier feels when the battlefield goes silent. "Commander," said Varric, his second in command, "surface scans show artificial structures, energy grids, urban density comparable to mid-tier civilizations." Veylan blinked. "That can't be correct. This world wasn't on any chart. It wasn't supposed to be," Varric replied, stepping closer. His pale face and geometric tattoos reflected the data stream. Somehow, they survived unnoticed. "How?" Veylan whispered. "How indeed?" The Ascendancy tracked every rising species within 500 light years. New worlds didn't just appear on their borders. "Have they detected us?" Veylan asked. "Unclear," Varric said. "Their satellites are primitive, but numerous." The commander leaned back slowly in his command chair. His crew of silent, efficient officers stared at the rotating hologram of the blue world Earth. The system data labeled it after decoding planetary transmissions. Humans. The name echoed in the command deck like a strange vibration. "Open passive audio channels," Veylan ordered. Static, then voices, music, laughter, shouts, cries, engines, wind. 1,000 sounds overlapping, chaotic, unfiltered, alive. Varric flinched. "How do they function with so much disorder?" "They adapt," Veylan murmured. "They thrive in it." He watched the display, unable to explain the sudden heaviness in his chest. Something about the world felt deliberate, positioned, preserved, not by chance. He shoved the thought away immediately. Illogical, unworthy, dangerous. Still, the feeling lingered. The descent team protocol dictated immediate reconnaissance. Veylan selected a small strike team, himself, Varric, 2 sentinels, and an observer drone. No weapons visible, only concealed. The shuttle descended quietly through the atmosphere, breaking through cloud cover to reveal green continents, deep oceans, and distant cities glowing like constellations. "Commander," Varric said quietly, "readings show signs of internal division, conflicts. They are not unified." "Most species aren't," Veylan replied, "until they're forced to be." Yet as he studied the world below, he sensed something contradictory. Humans were hostile yet warm, chaotic yet structured, flawed yet thriving. Nothing about them aligned with the Ascendancy's rigid categories. His fingers tightened around the railing. "We land there." He pointed toward a small clearing near a forest. "Primitive region?" Varric asked. "Far from global authorities," Veylan said. "Less risk." The shuttle touched down with a whisper. Veylan stepped out, expecting silence. Instead, he felt wind brushing against his skin, warm, gentle, carrying scents of soil and pine. The air felt clean, pure. He inhaled deeply and froze. Something stirred inside him, something old, buried, forbidden. It felt like intention, as though the world wasn't merely existing, but crafted. "Commander?" Varric's voice pulled him back. "Readings show an approaching life form." Veylan's hand brushed his concealed sidearm. "Human?" "Likely." The bushes parted. A human male emerged, mid-50s perhaps, tall, with weather-lined skin and gray streaks in his hair. He carried no weapon, only a small lantern. He stopped the moment he saw them. His eyes widened, not in terror, but in awe. Veylan had prepared for fear, screaming, running, not this. The man slowly lowered to one knee. Was he submitting? No. He bowed his head and whispered something softly. Varric scanned the audio. Commander. He's not addressing us. Then who? Varric hesitated. He's speaking to a higher entity, according to linguistic markers. Veylan frowned. A deity? A singular one, Varric clarified. He's praying. The word hit Veylan harder than expected. Prayer. Communicating with something unseen. Trusting a power without physical proof. It was irrational, yet the action wasn't desperate. It was calm, natural, like the man wasn't afraid of death or of them. He was simply acknowledging someone else before speaking. Veylan approached slowly. The man lifted his head and smiled gently, warmly, like a parent greeting strangers who'd gotten lost on their way somewhere important. Welcome, the human said quietly. I wondered when someone out there would finally show up. Varric stiffened. He understands. Basic phrases, Veylan said, checking the translator. He's adapting, the man chuckled softly. You're not the first lights in the sky I've talked to. His tone was casual, almost playful, yet lined with a strange depth. Veylan studied him closely. Why were you kneeling? The man seemed surprised by the question. Oh, I was just praying. Why? Veylan pressed, a small shrug. Habit. Gratitude, mostly. You stepping out of the clouds like that? Doesn't feel random. Veylan frowned. What do you mean by not random? The man looked up at the sky, at the stars beyond. You ever look at all that and think, this can't just be an accident? Something tightened in Veylan's throat. He opened his mouth to respond. The drone chimed sharply. Varric checked his display. Commander. Multiple human vehicles approaching rapidly. How many? Dozens, high speed, military pattern, the man sighed. Well, I suppose you didn't come here alone. Veylan's pulse quickened. He turned to his team. Back to the shuttle, now. Varric hesitated. What about the human? Veylan glanced back at the man still kneeling, still calm, still watching them with a knowing, almost pitying expression. Leave him, Veylan decided. As the team withdrew, the man called out, You don't need to be afraid of us. Veylan almost answered, but he didn't understand the sudden emotion rising in his chest. He boarded the shuttle, door closing. Through the window, he saw the man once more lift his head to the sky. Whispering again to someone unseen, Varric leaned in. Commander. What did you feel when he spoke? Veylan stared at the man on the ground. He wasn't sure. But it didn't feel like fear. It felt like the first crack in something ancient and unbreakable. As the shuttle lifts off, the human military vehicles skid into the clearing, and the soldiers don't find just footprints. They find something Veylan didn't realize he dropped. A triangular Ascendancy insignia, still glowing with alien energy. Their world is no longer hidden. And Veylan Kor? He senses the galaxy's perfect order beginning to fracture around him. Commander Veylan Kor had been in countless evacuation cycles, but never one where the silence felt louder than the alarms. The shuttle rose through a curtain of treetops, the engines whispering in controlled harmony. Below, the human man stood in the clearing lantern in one hand, the other resting calmly on his knee, as if the arrival of alien soldiers had been no more disruptive than a passing breeze. No panic, no hostility, only acknowledgement. Veylan's mind returned to the moment the man whispered to the sky. A strange thought pressed at the back of his consciousness. Who was he talking to? Impossible, he told himself. The Ascendancy dismissed the concept of unseen beings, let alone cosmic overseers. The universe was a flawless machine, not a crafted design. Yet something about that human's expression, steady, assured, almost affectionate, had disrupted a belief Veylan once thought unshakable. A being whispering to the sky as if someone was listening. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did. The debriefing chamber, the shuttle breached the stratosphere and docked with the cruiser Voxerus 9, a sleek, angular vessel that pulsed with Ascendancy precision. Inside, Veylan moved through decontamination, stripping away the faint scent of soil and pine still clinging to his armor. Varric stood beside him in the metallic chamber, visor off, eyes narrowed in concern. "You're troubled," Varric said flatly. Veylan didn't deny it. He knew something. A primitive? Knowing our arrival? Varric scoffed. "Impossible. He was expecting us." Varric hesitated. "How can you be certain?" "Because he wasn't afraid." Veylan paused. "And when danger approached, he didn't plead for survival. He spoke to someone else." "Another human?" Varric asked. "No." Veylan's voice dropped. "Someone." "Unseen." Varric's brow furrowed. "Commander, that's—" "I know." Veylan cut him off before the word irrational could surface. "But mere superstition doesn't produce calm under threat." Varric opened his mouth to argue, but the door hissed open. High Overseer Telmer strode in, robes sweeping behind him like a dark wing. His eyes were sharp, metallic, reflecting everything and revealing nothing. "Commander Kor," Telmer stated coldly. "Report." Veylan straightened. "The world is active, populated, structured. Their global power varies, but their adaptability is extraordinary." Telmer's jaw tightened. "And their hostility?" "Undetermined," Veylan admitted. "We made contact with a lone human. He did not react with aggression." "And what did he do?" Telmer asked. Veylan hesitated, just long enough for Telmer's eyes to narrow. "He knelt," Veylan said finally, "and prayed." A ripple of murmurs passed through the nearby analysts. Telmer's expression hardened. "Do not indulge primitive mysticism. Their psychological weaknesses are distractions, not revelations." Veylan lowered his head in acknowledgement, but something inside him resisted that command. It felt too dismissive, too clean, too convenient. "Did you retrieve evidence?" Telmer demanded. Varric gestured to a display terminal. "We detected their military approaching." Commander Kor decided to retreat before conflict escalated. Telmer's eyes snapped to Veylan. "You left no trace behind?" There was a long, tense silence. Veylan's stomach dropped. His insignia. He hadn't picked it up. It was an oversight, he admitted quietly. Telmer's voice rose with a rare crack of emotion. "Then you have given them proof." Then Veylan's throat tightened. "A minor device." "Not minor," Telmer almost shouted. "A cultural artifact. A technological relic. A symbol of origin." A hush filled the chamber. "You," Telmer said slowly, "have just initiated first contact without authorization." Veylan didn't flinch. Shame and stubborn conviction simmered in equal measure. "The humans will investigate." "That is true, but it may reveal something valuable." "Valuable?" Telmer scoffed. "Chaos is valuable only to those who misunderstand order." Veylan clenched his jaw. The word chaos. Humans thrived in it. And the more he thought about it, the less chaotic it seemed. Their world wasn't random. Their culture wasn't accidental. Their existence, thriving unnoticed, felt like a hidden design. A quiet possibility whispered into the dark of space. Unexpected transmission before Telmer could speak again. The comms panel beeped. "High Overseer," an officer said sharply. "An unauthorized signal is being transmitted from the surface." Veylan froze. "From the humans?" Telmer barked. "No, sir," the officer replied. "From the insignia the humans recovered." Varric turned sharply toward Veylan. "It activated?" "That device has no transmitter," Veylan protested. "It does now," the officer said, eyes widening. "We're receiving a direct relay audio only." The chamber fell silent. A soft crackle, like a radio waking from decades of sleep. Then, a voice, human, old, calm, the voice of the man from the clearing. "Hello again," the human said warmly. "If you can hear me, I hope you didn't mean to leave this behind." Veylan's heart dropped into his stomach. How was he transmitting on Ascendancy frequencies? "Commander," Varric whispered, "this is impossible." The human continued. "I don't know who you are, or what you're looking for. But if you want it back, you can come talk to me." A faint pause. And don't worry. I'm not the dangerous one here. Veylan stepped closer to the speaker, pulse pounding. The human's voice lowered, as if sharing something private. Funny thing. When your ship rose into the sky, I wondered, why today? Why me? Why now? A breath. Feels like someone wanted this meeting to happen. Varric whispered. Commander. Is he referring to, I don't know, Veylan muttered. But he felt the weight of those words. Someone wanted this to happen. Not random. Not coincidence. Intentional. Veylan's fingers curled into a fist. The human voice finished softly. If you're still listening, I'll be waiting. Same place. The transmission ended. The chamber was silent for several long seconds. Then Telmer turned slowly toward Veylan, voice like sharpened steel. Commander Kor. You will return to the surface. Veylan exhaled slowly. Part of him dreaded it. Part of him welcomed it. And another part, deep, quiet, unsettling, felt something he hadn't felt in years. A sense that he was walking a path not fully his own. As if someone else had already marked the steps. As Veylan prepares a second descent, a sensor alarm erupts. A second unidentified energy source has activated on Earth, but not from the insignia, not from humans. Something buried deep beneath the planet's crust is awakening. Something far older than human civilization, and not of Ascendancy origin. The energy spike lit up the Voxerus 9 sensors like a flare in the void. Not from the human military, not from global infrastructure. Not from the insignia the human picked up. This new reading came from deep beneath Earth's crust, a steady, pulsing rhythm, almost like a heartbeat echoing through stone. Commander Veylan Kor stared at the data array, feeling a rare chill slide down his spine. What is the frequency? He asked quietly. Non-ascendancy, the analyst replied, voice trembling. Non-human and extremely old. Old? Varric repeated. How old? The analyst swallowed. The signature resembles. Precursor architecture. The chamber fell silent. Precursors. The ancient species rumored to have shaped parts of the galaxy long before the Ascendancy rose. A species whose ruins technology could not replicate. A civilization that vanished without explanation. Telmer straightened sharply. Precursor relics have never been confirmed on any Tier 4 or Tier 5 world. Your readings must be wrong. They aren't, the analyst whispered. Veylan leaned closer to the projection. The pulse continued slow, methodical, purposeful. Not a malfunction. Not random. Not accidental. Something beneath the world was waking. The descent order. Telmer's voice cut through the tension. Commander Kor, you will return to the surface immediately. Retrieve your insignia, identify the human, and isolate this anomaly. Veylan nodded, but his mind wasn't on protocol. It lingered on the human's calm voice, the prayer in the clearing, the way he'd looked at the sky not as an empty void, but as if something was watching back. Commander, Varric said quietly as they walked toward the hangar, this is no longer reconnaissance. It's risk. Everything worth understanding carries risk, Veylan murmured. Varric frowned. Understanding what? A stray old man and a buried artifact? Veylan didn't respond. Because he didn't know how to explain the feeling gnawing at him. Something on Earth felt placed. As if this blue world was not just randomly evolving, but sheltered, protected. A quiet thought flickered through his mind. What if the humans weren't alone? He immediately crushed the thought, but it lingered like an echo. Return to the blue world. The shuttle pierced the upper atmosphere again, descending through cotton-white clouds into the dusky glow of early evening. The forest clearing came into view, now swarming with human activity. Military trucks, floodlights, soldiers in formation. And in the center, surrounded by armed guards, the human man stood calmly holding the alien insignia. Commander, Varric said, scanning the area. They've set up a perimeter. They're waiting. Then we approach with caution, Veylan replied. The shuttle landed, engines humming softly. The hatch hissed open. The humans tensed, weapons raised. The old man lifted a hand. "Stand down. They're not here to fight." Remarkably, the soldiers hesitated, then lowered their guns. Veylan stepped out first, hands visible, posture neutral. His heart hammered in a way he wasn't accustomed to in Ascendancy service. Fear was trained out of officers early. But this wasn't fear. This was anticipation. The old man smiled, as if greeting a long-expected guest. "Took you a bit longer this time. You activated a restricted device," Veylan said carefully. "You left it behind," the man replied, holding out the insignia. Seemed polite to return it. Veylan took it and felt something odd. The metal was warm, too warm. As if it had been activated not by technology, but by something else. "Who are you?" Veylan asked. The man chuckled, no one important. "My name's Elias. Why did you kneel earlier?" Varric blurted, unable to contain his curiosity. Elias smiled gently. "Old habit. When life surprises me, I like to acknowledge the one who isn't surprised." Varric blinked. "The one who... someone you don't see," Elias said. "But someone who sees everything." Veylan's chest tightened unexpectedly. Varric looked unsettled. "Your culture believes in invisible beings?" Elias nodded. "Just one." Telmer's warnings echoed in Veylan's mind, dangerous superstition. Irrationality, but instead of dismissal, Veylan felt something else. He wanted to understand. Before he could ask more, the analyst's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Commander, the Precursor anomaly is increasing its pulse. You are directly above the epicenter." The ground trembled faintly beneath Veylan's boots. Elias exhaled softly. "Ah, so you felt it too." Veylan stiffened. "You're aware of the energy signal." Elias pointed at the Earth. "It's been sleeping a long time. Longer than us. Longer than you, I suspect." Varric's eyes widened. "How could you possibly know?" Elias looked at Veylan, not at Varric, not at the soldiers, not at the shuttle, but directly at him, as if he were the only one who mattered. "Some things you don't learn," Elias said quietly. "You just feel them. Like they were placed there for a reason." Veylan felt something cold crawl up his spine. "Commander," Varric whispered urgently, "this man is either deeply delusional or hiding knowledge beyond Tier 5 capabilities." But Veylan wasn't convinced it was madness. Elias seemed too grounded, too calm, too confident. And then, the ground pulsed again. Stronger. A deep rumble traveled through the soil like a distant drumbeat. Soldiers staggered, grabbing their weapons. Floodlights flickered. The shuttle's alarms burst into warning tones. Subsurface seismic activity. Varric shouted, "Commander, readings are spiking." Elias didn't move. He just looked at the sky again, not at the stars. Above them, beyond them. "Funny," he murmured. "Most people think we're small. But someone keeps proving we're seen." Veylan stared at him. This human, this ordinary human, spoke as if the universe wasn't empty, as if the void had meaning, as if existence wasn't accidental. A thunderous pulse exploded beneath their feet. The earth split, just a hairline crack, but bright with a strange pale blue glow. Veylan stumbled back. Elias didn't. He stepped closer and whispered something Veylan could barely hear. "This wasn't built by us. And it wasn't built by the ones who left." He glanced at Veylan. "You're not the first visitor here." Veylan's blood ran cold. "Not the first?" "Commander!" Varric shouted. But Veylan barely heard him. Because from the crack in the earth, something whispered back, not a voice, a resonance. Like a message awakening, ancient, intelligent, and undeniably deliberate. As the glowing fissure widens, the Ascendancy cruiser detects a terrifying discovery. The Precursor's signal isn't rising. It's responding to WHA. A second signal begins transmitting across Earth. Not mechanical, not alien, not human. A signal with a pattern identical to Veylan's insignia, but billions of years older. The crack in the earth widened with a low, resonant hum so deep Veylan felt it in his bones more than he heard it. A pale blue glow pulsed within the fissure, like a heartbeat trapped beneath stone. Ascendancy science had no room for emotions, but Veylan felt something impossible: recognition. As if the hum beneath them wasn't just ancient, it was familiar. "Commander!" Varric shouted, pulling Veylan back a step. "We must withdraw immediately. The readings, these cannot be stable." "They're not meant to be stable," Elias said calmly. Veylan turned sharply. "Explain." But Elias didn't answer immediately. He knelt by the crack, lantern in hand, staring into the blue glow with a strange tenderness, as if looking at an old friend rather than a cataclysmic anomaly. The human soldiers stayed behind him, anxious but unwilling to act. Their fear was palpable. Their restraint was astonishing. A lesser civilization would have fired weapons by now. Instead, they watched. Trusting Elias, Veylan couldn't understand that kind of loyalty. No, he envied it. "A signal older than stars." "Commander Kor," Varric said urgently, eyes locked on his scanner. "The fissure's energy pattern matches your insignia's frequency down to the harmonic signature." "My insignia?" Veylan's voice sharpened. "That is impossible." "It's not just similar," Varric insisted. "It's identical, only far older. Millions of cycles older." A chill passed through Veylan. The insignia he wore was a symbol of ascendancy order, mathematically designed, culturally encoded, its shape supposedly based on principles of geometric perfection. To discover an identical pattern buried beneath an unknown world. Impossible. Or deliberate. Veylan's pulse quickened. "Commander," the ship analyst crackled through the cum, "the subterranean structure extends across entire tectonic plates. It's not a small relic. It's a global formation." "A buried machine under a planet?" "No, too organic. A buried message? Too structured. A buried design? Too intentional." "Commander," Varric said in a whisper, "nothing alive could build something like this." Elias looked over his shoulder. "Maybe not alive in the way you think." Varric flinched. "What are you implying?" Elias simply pointed at the fissure. "Listen," the whisper. The hum shifted subtly. It wasn't noise, it was pattern. A sequence of tones rising and falling in mathematical waves like a cosmic language more ancient than speech. Veylan felt something inside him stir, a memory he didn't recognize, a sensation he couldn't explain. His people's earliest creation myths, long dismissed as symbolic nonsense, spoke of the first architects, cosmic beings who shaped the foundation of matter itself. He had always dismissed them. Now, he wasn't so sure. Varric swallowed hard. "Elias, do your people know about this?" "No," Elias said softly. "But we've always felt something beneath us. Something vast, something purposeful." "Purposeful?" Veylan echoed. Elias nodded. "You can call it what you want. Destiny, fate, guidance." He lowered his voice. "Or someone who writes things into the fabric of worlds." Veylan looked away. He couldn't stand the implication. It was too close to a belief ascendancy logic rejected entirely. Still, something tugged inside him, like an unseen hand turning his face toward an uncomfortable truth. "Commander," the shuttle AI announced suddenly, "we are detecting movement beneath the crust. Something is shifting." The ground trembled. Humans staggered. Animals scattered through the trees. The light within the fissure twisted, swirling upward like rising smoke made of stars. Varric panicked. "Commander, this is a structural awakening. If a precursor construct is surfacing, we could be in catastrophic danger." Elias stood slowly, lantern glowing warm gold in his hand. "It won't harm us." "How could you possibly know that?" Varric snapped. Elias looked at him with quiet certainty. "Because we weren't made to be destroyed. Not by this." Veylan stepped closer. "Who told you that?" Elias didn't answer. He didn't need to. The moment stretched tense, fragile, electric. Then, A sudden flash of blue light burst from the fissure. It shot upward in a column of shimmering energy, shooting past the treetops, past the clouds, past the edge of the sky. "Commander," the Voxerus 9 bridge officer shouted. "A beam has breached the atmosphere. It's transmitting a message outward." "Transmitting to where?" Veylan demanded. There was a pause. Then, "To you." Veylan's breath froze. "To me?" "Yes, Commander. The signal is encoded exclusively to your genetic signature." Varric spun to him. "Why would a precursor construct millions of cycles old be sending a message to an Ascendancy commander?" Veylan had no answer. Elias did. He approached Veylan slowly, lantern light painting his face in gentle gold. "Because you were meant to come." The words hit Veylan like a strike. "Meant?" He hissed. "There is no meant. There is no fate, no destiny. No guiding hand. There's only data and order." Elias shook his head gently. "If the universe truly ran on cold equations alone, you wouldn't be here." Veylan's voice cracked slightly. "That is coincidence, is it?" Before Veylan could reply, the ground lurched violently. Human soldiers shouted. The shuttle tilted. Floodlights toppled. Through the fissure, something enormous began to rise. Not metal, not stone. A structure shaped like a spiral of crystalline arcs, glowing with the same pattern as Veylan's insignia. It was beautiful, terrifying, ancient. Varric backed away. "Commander, this thing isn't a relic. It's waking up." Veylan stared, breath shallow. If this construct was truly designed by precursors, then everything the Ascendancy believed about order and supremacy was a lie. A massive lie. Elias whispered, "Some things in the universe are placed exactly where they need to be, and some people are sent exactly where they're meant to stand." Veylan trembled, not from fear, but from a truth pressing inward. A truth he wasn't ready for. As the crystalline structure emerges fully, the Voxerus 9 sends an urgent encrypted message. "Commander Kor, evacuate immediately. Ascendancy High Command has detected the awakening. They are dispatching a cleansing fleet, estimated arrival, 3 cycles. A cleansing fleet. To burn Earth, and Veylan must choose. Obey his empire, or protect a world he barely understands. A world that feels, for the first time in his life, not accidental." The message played only once, but it echoed in Veylan's skull long after it faded. A cleansing fleet. 3 cycles. Earth erased. Varric's face drained of color. "Commander, they're going to purge the entire planet." Human soldiers didn't understand the alien transmission, but they understood the tension. Rifles tightened, stances stiffened. The air itself felt charged. Elias didn't move. He stared at the luminous crystalline structure rising from the fissure like a blooming star, a silent giant carved in light. Veylan's heart hammered painfully. This world wasn't what he expected. This human wasn't what he expected. This awakening was definitely not what the Ascendancy expected. "Commander," Varric whispered urgently, "we must return to orbit. Ascendancy protocol is clear. When a cleansing order is issued—" "I know what protocol says." Veylan snapped, too fast, too sharp. Varric blinked. "You are hesitating." Yes, he was, and he didn't fully understand why. He only knew that the crystalline formation now standing before them, this ancient, impossible artifact, had chosen to speak to him alone. Why? How could something a million cycles older than the Ascendancy know him? Unless, no, that thought was too wild, too dangerous. "Commander," Elias said gently, "you're standing on the edge of something far bigger than you realize." Veylan turned sharply toward him. "Did you know your world was harboring a precursor construct?" Elias shook his head. "No, but some of us. We've always felt we weren't alone here." "Alone?" Varric scoffed. "You speak as if some invisible force has been watching your planet." Elias didn't flinch. "Because I believe someone has," Varric muttered. "Delusion." But Veylan didn't say anything. He couldn't shake the echo inside him. the crystalline structure awakening in time with the insignia he dropped, the man praying at the clearing, the identical harmonic signature buried beneath the crust. Coincidence couldn't explain this kind of precision. It felt like intentional convergence, like a path someone had laid long before he was born. The construct's first breath, a tremor rippled through the forest floor. The crystalline arcs glowed brighter, their light refracting like sunlight on water. Then, a low, harmonic chime. Not sound, meaning. The structure's inner chamber opened like a blooming flower, revealing a core of rotating crystalline spires etched with mathematical spirals identical to Veylan's insignia. "Varric," Veylan said quietly. "What am I looking at?" "Commander," Varric's voice shook. "This construct predates Ascendancy civilization. Its structure suggests it was not built for warfare nor storage, but for communication." Elias tilted his head. "It's speaking. We don't yet know that," Varric snapped. "Yes," Elias said calmly. "You don't." Veylan stepped closer to the humming core. As he approached, the frequency shifted, matching his heartbeat. The core pulsed once, twice, then it projected a beam directly at him. Varric shouted something. The human soldiers raised their weapons. Elias didn't move. The light touched Veylan's chest, scanning, reading, absorbing, then flickered outward, displaying a holographic pattern composed of swirling lines. Veylan froze. The pattern was his DNA. Varric gasped. "The construct recognizes you. Specifically you." "That's impossible," Veylan whispered. "No," Elias said softly. "Just uncomfortable." Veylan turned toward him. "Why me? Why not humans? Why not your kind?" Elias smiled sadly. "Maybe because you're the only one who needed to see it." Needed. The word hit Veylan harder than he expected. Since childhood, he'd been taught the Ascendancy was the pinnacle of logic, the conquering order, the rightful architects of the galaxy's future. But this construct suggested the galaxy wasn't theirs. It wasn't anyone's. It had a deeper design. A design the Ascendancy was blind to. The first warning, the Voxerus 9 officer's voice crackled over comms. "Commander, new development. The cleansing fleet's initial jump signature has been detected. Estimated arrival, 2.4 cycles. Less than he thought, too little time." Varric grabbed Veylan's arm. "We must leave now. High Command will consider your hesitation treason." Elias stepped closer. "And what will they consider this?" He gestured toward the ancient structure. "Proof their understanding of the universe is fractured." "Enough," Veylan snapped. But his voice wasn't anger. It was fear. Real fear, not for himself. For the world beneath his boots. For the people who had done nothing but approach him with caution, curiosity, and bewildering patience. For the old man who knelt in peace while soldiers pointed rifles around him. For the construct rising from the earth like a message from a buried past. He looked up at the sky, its vastness stretching endlessly above them. And for the first time in his disciplined, controlled life, it didn't look empty. It looked intentional, deliberate, crafted, someone's canvas. He whispered under his breath, barely audible even to himself. "This place wasn't a mistake," Elias heard. "No world is." Veylan's chest tightened. Varric stared. "Commander, what are you implying?" Veylan couldn't answer. Because he didn't fully know. He only knew the cleansing fleet would erase an entire species, one capable of faith, of wonder, of asking questions most Ascendancy minds had long buried. And something inside him whispered, not in words, but in instinct, that he couldn't simply let that happen. Not after what he'd seen. Not after what he'd felt. Not after the construct awakened for him. Choosing a side. Human vehicles rumbled in the distance, reinforcements, maybe even government officials. The window for secrecy was shrinking. "Commander Kor," Varric warned, "if we stay any longer, humans will overwhelm us. The cleansing fleet will overwhelm them," Veylan replied softly. Varric stiffened. "What are you saying?" Veylan looked at Elias. The old man's eyes reflected lantern light and crystalline glow, simultaneously warmth and ancient knowledge intertwined. "Tell me," Veylan asked him quietly, "why were you at that clearing?" Illa smiled. "Because I was supposed to be." Veylan swallowed. Something inside him shifted a weight he didn't know he'd been carrying. Almost like an answer to a question he never asked. A strange, foreign calm washed over him. Then, the crystalline construct pulsed violently. Varric shouted, "Commander! Incoming data surge. It's targeting the Ascendancy long-range network." The construct flashed a beam into the sky. Not random. Not chaotic. A message. A message meant to be heard. The Voxorus 9 bridge officer screams over comms, "Commander!" The Precursor construct just transmitted directly to the cleansing fleet. Veylan freezes. What did it say? The officer's terrified voice cracks. It issued a command. And the cleansing fleet has stopped. The galaxy's most feared armada had paused mid-jump, not for the Ascendancy. Not for humans, but for something older, and it was waiting. For Veylan, silence. Not the calm kind, nor the steady hum of a starship's engines. This silence felt cosmic, like the entire sky was holding its breath. Veylan Kor stood rigid, staring at the unit in disbelief. The most feared fleet in Ascendancy history, the cleansing armada, had halted mid-jump. Because an ancient structure buried beneath an uncharted human world told it to. "Commander!" The Voxorus 9 officer crackled through the again, panic rising. "The armada is offline, frozen in transitional space. Something locked out their navigation protocols." Varric staggered back. "A Precursor construct can override the Ascendancy?" "No," Veylan murmured. "Not override," Varric blinked. "Then what?" "Command it." The words tasted impossible, even blasphemous by Ascendancy standards. Elias watched Veylan quietly, lantern glow reflecting in his eyes. "Some things were old long before your rulers learned to name themselves." Veylan swallowed. "This construct recognized me, my DNA. Why?" Elias tilted his head. "Maybe because your people forgot who came before them. But the universe didn't." The human soldiers exchanged confused glances, unable to understand alien speech, but they understood urgency. Their formation tightened. More vehicles arrived. Cameras, floodlights, radios. Humanity was swarming toward the anomaly. Varric gripped Veylan's shoulder. "We must leave, Commander. Now, before humans overrun us. Before High Command accuses you of conspiring with primitives." Veylan didn't move. His gaze remained fixed on the crystalline construct, still humming, still glowing, still impossibly alive for something built before his species discovered fire. He felt it watching him, evaluating him, calling him. Not by name, but by something deeper. "Commander," Varric pressed. "Please, the fleet is immobilized now, but High Command will force manual override. They'll purge this world." Elias stepped forward, gentle but firm. "And you're the only one who can stop them," Varric snapped. "You are manipulating him." Elias smiled softly. "No, I'm reminding him." The construct's voice. A vibration shivered through the air. Low, rhythmic, alive. The crystalline arc shifted, rotating like interlocking rings. Light rippled across the forest, trees bending under a silent wave of pressure. Varric scanned rapidly. "Commander!" Energy surge. It's opening another interface. Panels of light unfolded like petals. A walkway formed from the earth, smooth, glowing, shaped by invisible intention. Leading straight toward Veylan, Varric gasped. "It wants you to enter." Human soldiers raised weapons, shouting warnings. The old man lifted a hand, calming them with a single gesture. "This isn't for us," Elias whispered. "Not yet." Veylan took a step toward the walkway, then froze as a new voice crackled through the deep, metallic, authoritative. "Commander Kor." "High Overseer Telmer." Veylan stiffened. "Sir, we are detecting unauthorized Precursor activation," Telmer said sharply. "Your hesitation is unacceptable." You will neutralize the anomaly and extract immediately. Veylan stared at the glowing passageway. Neutralize? You want me to destroy it? Yes. Telmer's voice hardened. This construct threatens Ascendancy dominance. Our rule is founded on order, not ancient myths or forgotten machines. Veylan whispered. You mean our rule is fragile? Fragility requires control. Telmer snapped. Not discovery. Veylan shook his head. We cannot destroy this. We must, Telmer said sternly. Unless you value the lives of primitives over the fate of your people. Elias stepped closer. You cannot serve two masters. Veylan turned sharply. What? Elias didn't flinch. Your empire demands unquestioned obedience. The universe demands truth. You must choose. I choose my people. Veylan snapped too fast, too loud. But as soon as he said it, it didn't feel true. Varric stared, horrified. Commander, don't let this creature cloud your logic. A soft pulse rising from the construct interrupted him. Images flickered in the air above the crystal core, not words, not symbols. Memories, not Veylan's, yet somehow connected to him, a distant star system, a fractured battlefield. An ancient being placing a triangular crystal into the hands of an early Ascendancy ancestor. The insignia, his insignia. Varric fell silent, jaw trembling. Commander, this shows our ancestors receiving instructions? No, guidance, purpose, a path. A path the Ascendancy corrupted. Veylan's pulse accelerated. Our insignia wasn't designed by us, Elias nodded. You were given something and forgot where it came from. Varric stumbled backward. This is sacrilege. Against science, against our entire foundation. Against ignorance, Elias corrected gently. Veylan stepped toward the construct. Telmer yelled through the Commander Kor, avoid that interface. Veylan ignored him. The walkway brightened. The humming grew deeper. Elias whispered, You feel it, don't you? The pull. Like someone placed a thread in your life a long time ago. And now you've found the other end. Veylan's hands trembled. He did feel it. A sense of direction. A sense of alignment. A sense that he wasn't walking into madness, but back into something ancient and forgotten. Something meant. He glanced at Elias. Who are you really? Elias smiled faintly. Someone who listens. The Ascendancy threatens. Telmer's voice roared back over the Commander Kor, by order of High Command you are relieved of duty. You will stand down and surrender yourself upon return. Veylan stopped walking. His entire life, his rank, honor, status, purpose, dangled by a thin thread. Varric whispered, Commander, please, think, you can still fix this. Veylan lowered his head. Fix it. Fix it by destroying a world that had done nothing but breathe, hope, wonder, pray. Fix it by silencing a construct older than his empire. Fix it by pretending this was all coincidence. He finally looked up. No, Veylan said softly. I think the fixing starts now. Varric stared at him in horror. Telmer screamed through the Elias simply smiled. Veylan took another step forward, and the construct responded with a harmonic chime that shook the air like a bell being struck by the universe itself. The walkway extended. The core opened further, welcoming him, choosing him. Suddenly, a blast of energy rippled through the sky. The Voxerus 9 shuddered violently. Varric spun toward the sky, eyes wide. Commander! Something else just woke up on Earth. A new signal, separate from the Precursor construct, rising rapidly. The officer screamed over Commander Kor, a second ancient signature is activating this one human. The construct answered alien blood. The new signal was answering human blood. Veylan froze. Elias whispered, Looks like you're not the only one being called. The night sky split with a sharp vertical flash white gold, brilliant, unnatural. It wasn't lightning. It wasn't the construct. It was something new, something awake. The ground trembled again, but this time the vibration carried a different rhythm. Not the deep, resonant hum of ancient alien machinery, but something warmer, softer, almost familiar. Veylan's eyes snapped up. What is that? The com exploded with frantic voices. Commander! A second precursor, signature human associated, just activated on the opposite continent. Human associated. Varric gasped. Impossible. Humans cannot activate precursor technology. Elias exhaled with quiet awe. They can. If it was meant for them. Veylan turned sharply toward him. What are you saying? Elias didn't look away from the distant glow across the horizon. It seems your arrival woke something underneath our feet. But something else was waiting for us. The forest fell silent. The human soldiers looked unsettled, some crossing themselves, others whispering prayers. They didn't know the details, but they felt the shift. Something ancient was touching their world. Something that recognized them, or chose them. Varric shook his head in denial. Humans are Tier 5 primitives. They cannot interface with precursor systems. They don't have the neural complexity. They do, Elias interrupted gently. Just not in the way you measure. Veylan's chest tightened. Explain. Elias glanced at him, then at the crystalline construct, still humming softly in recognition of Veylan. The universe is more than genetics and circuitry. Sometimes what it answers to is... Quieter, Varric scoffed. You mean belief? Faith? Elias didn't flinch. Call it what you want. Veylan stepped between them. What's happening now? What activated across the world? The old man nodded toward the distant horizon, toward the second rising glow now shimmering through the atmosphere like a waking sun. A guardian, Elias whispered. A guardian? Varric repeated, stunned. Humans possess a precursor guardian? Not possess, Elias corrected. But they are. Connected to one. And now that yours woke up? He nodded at Veylan. Ours is responding. The implications crashed into Veylan like a wave. If the first construct responded to his DNA, and the second responded to human DNA, then the precursors did not build randomly. They built intentionally, purposefully, two dormant structures, two species, two destinies entwined without knowing. Veylan's breath shook. This world wasn't an anomaly. It was part of a plan. The cleansing armada reacts. The cum crackled again. Commander Kor, emergency update. The cleansing armada, it's moving again. Varric stiffened. So the override failed? No, sir, the officer said, trembling. It's not resuming the purge path. It's rerouting. Where? Veylan demanded. The answer chilled him. Directly toward the newly awakened human structure. Varric stepped back, horrified. They think the human signal is a threat. They're going to destroy it first, and they'll scorch Earth in the process. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to something unheard. Then he whispered, They won't get there. Veylan looked at him. What do you mean? Elias opened his eyes again, filled with a profound calm. Because it wasn't them who woke it. Veylan's voice dropped to a rasp. Then who? Elias met his gaze. You've already met him. A cold shiver slid down Veylan's spine. He had heard humans whisper that someone watched them. He had seen Elias kneel in the clearing. He had heard him speak to the sky as if it listened. But now, the idea no longer sounded primitive or irrational. It sounded possible. And terrifying. The human awakening intensifies. The second glow intensified. Across the world, satellites malfunctioned. Weather patterns shifted. Ocean tides rose as something deep beneath the crust stirred. Human radios crackled. Animals howled. Dreaming cities woke in fear. What is the human structure doing? Veylan asked. The cum officer answered shakily. Commander, it's broadcasting a signal into deep space. And not just any signal. Varric snatched the holofeed from the air. His face went pale. Commander. It's the same harmonic sequence as yours. Veylan froze. His construct had awakened because of him. The human construct was awakening because of them. Two twin signals calling across the dark. What does it mean? Veylan whispered. Elias stepped forward. That's something ancient has been waiting for two species. He placed a hand gently against the glowing crystal. Yours and mine. Veylan's pulse pounded. For what? Elias's voice softened, almost mournful. To see if you'd stand with us. Or watch us burn. The ground beneath them shook again, this time harder. The crystalline construct around Veylan lit with blinding intensity. Varric shouted, Commander, it's reacting to the human signal. It's responding, Veylan murmured. The arcs rotated faster. Light surged upward. A beam shot into the atmosphere, white, blue, and brilliant. It struck the human signal across the planet. For a moment, the sky filled with two intersecting lights. Two awakening giants speaking in a language older than empires. Elias whispered, The universe is asking you a question. Veylan swallowed hard. What question? A deep vibration rumbled through the earth beneath their feet. Human soldiers fell to their knees. Birds took flight. The old man stared upward, lantern warm against his chest. Then he spoke softly, reverently. Who do you serve, Veylan Kor? The forest went silent. Veylan felt something inside him crack open. Not breaking, but unfolding. Do you serve an empire built on fear, or a truth built before your empire even existed? Veylan choked on breath. I don't know. Elias nodded. Then step forward. And find out. Veylan stared at the glowing passageway. At the ancient structure calling him. At the sky where two lights now danced like twin stars. He took a step. Another. The ground trembled. Varric shouted behind him, Commander, stop. If you enter that construct, you commit treason. Elias whispered, if he doesn't, he commits something much worse. Veylan reached the threshold of the crystal structure. The hum swallowed him, warm, alive, aware. And then, a new voice echoed inside his mind. Not human. Not ascendancy. Not machine. Ancient and calm. Choose. Before Veylan can respond, the sky erupts with fire. The cleansing armada has forced a partial jump, ripping reality open as massive warships tear through space-time, entering Earth's orbit violently. Varric screams through the chaos, Commander! They didn't come to destroy one structure. They came to destroy you. And above the trembling world, the first Ascendancy dreadnought aims its planetary cannon at the human awakening. Earth is 3 breaths away from annihilation. The sky tore open like a wounded veil. A violent streak of blue-white energy ripped through the upper atmosphere as Ascendancy dreadnoughts forced a premature jump, their hulls screaming against physics. The night turned to blinding daylight, trees bent under the shockwave. Birds scattered. Human soldiers dove behind vehicles and rocks. The cleansing fleet had arrived. Not early, not late. At the exact moment, the universe held its breath. Varric shouted over the rising storm, Commander, they're targeting you. They bypassed protocol. They bypassed identification, his voice cracked. They're coming here because you disobeyed. Veylan stood frozen beneath the glowing crystalline arches, the ancient structure humming around him like a living cathedral of light. He felt two forces tearing at him, duty burned into his bones. Truth waking in his chest like a star igniting. Above him, the lead Ascendancy warship, the dreadnought Crown of Silence, lowered its planetary cannon. A massive sphere of blue plasma formed at its core, building charge enough to vaporize the human awakening on the other continent, and scorch everything in between, including him, including Elias, including Earth. Varric grasped Veylan's arm desperately. We have to escape. We can still reach the shuttle, Commander, please. His voice broke. Don't choose them over us. Don't choose belief over reason. The words hit Veylan sharply. But Elias spoke first. Reason? The old man said softly, lantern warm in his palm. Reason is a wonderful thing. But it can be blind when it refuses to look up. Veylan turned to him. Up? Elias nodded once. Try it. Veylan lifted his gaze. Above them, the two ancient signals, alien and human, now intertwined across the sky, weaving a luminous pattern of spiraling lights. Like two voices singing in harmony. Like two parts of a single design. The dreadnought's cannon ignited brighter. Time slowed. The universe waited. Inside Veylan's mind, the ancient voice returned soft, resonant, patient. Choose. Veylan didn't know if the voice came from the construct, the awakening across the planet, the precursors, or something deeper than all of them, something Elias called someone. But the question was clear. Would he stand with an empire that lied, that feared, that burned worlds to hide its ignorance? Or would he stand with a people who laughed, prayed, adapted, loved, and faced the unknown with awe instead of fear? He inhaled sharply and stepped forward. Not toward Varric, not toward the shuttle, but into the heart of the awakened crystal. The crystal's truth light enveloped him like warm water, not heat, not cold, a presence. He didn't see visions. He didn't hear words. He felt placement, like he had stepped onto a mark that had waited centuries for him. A pulse traveled through him, resonating with every cell, every memory, every question he had ever buried. And the construct responded. A column of radiant energy shot from its core, piercing the sky like a sword of light. Human soldiers gasped. Varric whispered in awe. Elias simply bowed his head. The dreadnought's cannon adjusted, aiming directly at the new beam. The Ascendancy saw it as a threat, as rebellion, as treason. Veylan felt none of that. He felt peace. For the first time in his life, he felt peace. The ancient voice spoke again, clearer now. You were not created for obedience. You were created for choice. And Veylan chose. The clash of lights, the dreadnought fired. A colossal blast of blue plasma descended toward Earth, ripping the sky apart in a roar of energy. But the crystal responded with equal force. A barrier of white-blue light erupted upward, intercepting the beam mid-air. The collision cracked the heavens, shockwaves echoing across continents. Forests quivered. Oceans rippled. Clouds spiraled into spectacular vortexes. Human cities saw the collision like a second sun rising. The ground beneath Veylan shook violently, but he did not fall. The construct held him in place, like unseen hands balancing him. Elias whispered, "You weren't chosen because you were strong. You were chosen because you were willing." The dreadnought fired again. The construct responded again. Two ancient powers, Ascendancy arrogance and Precursor design, clashed above Earth in a breaking storm of cosmic force. Varric screamed into the Commander Kor has triggered an ancient defense system. The fleet cannot break through. Pull back! Pull back! But High Overseer Telmer roared back. Burn the world! The moment of decision, the dreadnought began charging its full annihilation cannon. This time, the shot would tear through continents. Veylan knew the construct could not hold forever. He knew the Ascendancy would try again, and again, and again. Unless he stopped them. Unless he made a choice they could not undo. He placed his hand on the crystal core. It pulsed beneath his palm like a living heartbeat. The voice returned soft as a whisper, vast as the stars. "Stand!" "But I am one," Veylan whispered. "All great things begin with one." He closed his eyes. He pictured his homeworld, his training, his rank, his life of discipline and certainty. Then he pictured Elias kneeling in the clearing. The way the human looked at the sky. The way he said someone was listening. Veylan looked up again at the spiraling twin lights across the sky. Not random. Not chaotic, designed. Not by precursors, but by the one who designed them. And Veylan finally understood the old man's quiet confidence. Elias never believed humans were alone. He believed no one was. Veylan inhaled deeply. Then he spoke aloud, clear, steady, unafraid. "I choose Earth." The fall of the fleet, the construct reacted instantly. A surge of energy exploded outward. An expanding wave of light that rippled across the atmosphere, striking the Ascendancy dreadnoughts like a divine hammer. Shields cracked. Engines failed. Cannon cores dimmed. One by one, the ships shuddered, then froze in total power collapse. The entire cleansing fleet fell silent. The sky glowed with white-blue radiance, like dawn breaking across the universe. Human soldiers dropped to their knees. Varric stared in speechless shock. And Elias? He simply whispered, "Thank you." Veylan stepped out of the construct, light fading around him. Varric stumbled forward. "Commander, you destroyed the fleet." "No," Veylan said softly. "I freed them." Varric trembled. "From what?" "From a lie," Veylan answered. "From an empire built on fear," Elias nodded gently. "And now?" Veylan looked at the crystal, then at the sky, then at the horizon where the second signal still glowed. Then he looked at Elias. "Now," Veylan said, "I learn why the universe wanted us to meet." As Earth steadied beneath them, the construct pulsed one last time. A final message, not in words, in feeling, in destiny. There was more, much more. The second human awakening shimmered across the planet waiting, calling, inviting. Elias turned to Veylan. "You're ready," Veylan nodded. Together, alien and human stepped toward a future neither empire nor history had prepared for. A future written not by chance, but by intention.